A lot of hype coming with a new MLB player coming from Japan, Munetaka Murakami, coming to the MLB. Do the Blue Jays have a shot? Do you want the Blue Jays to have a shot? We'll talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network. Your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. A very promising player coming over from Japan, Munetaka Murakami. I will probably get that name wrong at some point. I'm going to try not to. But there is a lot of speculation around this player, good, bad, and I think a lot of teams are going to have to make a decision on if this player is right for them. And I know there's a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans that think, hey, let's get this guy. He's the next big guy coming out of Japan that can make a difference on a ball club. Carter will get into some of the good things and the bad things in regards to him and sort of where we stand personally. I've done a little bit of research into looking at what this guy can do, what he can't do. You have a player in that you can compare to this guy a little bit and see if I agree. We'll talk about that in the second segment. Mark Shapiro's contract is up. Will he re-sign with the Toronto Blue Jays and continue on? And a few Toronto Blue Jays free agents that we will talk about, Carter, later on. But as always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. You guys have been killing it lately. Keep that going. We love to see it. Very interesting episode. Something we don't do a ton of. Talking about international players coming over, but it's something that has been tons in the news.
3 years in a row. I mean, we say you don't do a ton of it, but hey, who would have thought? You get 3 big players, I guess. This isn't the Shohei Ohtani type caliber of player, but 3 big players coming from Japan that can definitely have an immediate impact on any single baseball club.
Yeah, Carter. And I think the interesting part of this all for me was the fact that there are a lot of Blue Jays fans and fans in the MLB that are now looking closer into these guys from other leagues that can come over and make a difference in the MLB. And again, like I said, I'll get into this a little bit more of why I think or don't think that he will be a good fit for the Toronto Blue Jays, Carter. This guy can absolutely mash the ball. He has insane numbers. He had broke the single season home run record in the league he played in Japan. Plus, he has, you can see the potential in this guy, right? The swing, the just pure raw power from him. And I think that's what they're hoping will translate over into the MLB. Carter, a couple negatives on this guy is he is primarily a DH. He does not play very good third base and he does not play very good first base. So a lot of teams looking to sign this guy will either have to sacrifice defense in total because he's really not that good. And the other thing, Carter, is he does not hit fastballs. Anything over 93 miles an hour, yikes. So how does that translate into a league that is primarily, hey, we're chasing velocity, we're chasing velocity, we're chasing velocity? To me, not well. But Carter, any initial thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, it's more so he can't hit the velocity compared to the fastball, because just in the Japan leagues, they're more so about spin. They are throwing fastballs, obviously, but you're not seeing the 98, 99, 100, the 104 from Aroldis Chapman. Yeah. So we've all seen the stat on pitches above 93 miles per hour. He hit 0.95 on those pitches. And if you know anything about the major leagues, pretty much everybody is throwing faster than 93 miles per hour on their fastball. So that's a very real problem that Munetaka has. It's a very real problem that people should be concerned about. The swing and miss is a prevalent part of this guy's game. The raw power is there. It's almost up to the caliber of the Addison Barger raw power. This guy connects. He is going to smash baseballs. But we're already seeing some problems with the whip percentage in the Japan leagues. It's a very good pitching league. You see a lot of just disgusting Japanese pitchers, throwing curveball sliders. They spin the ball so well. But when you look at the MLB, you look at the velocity, there's definitely some causes to be concerned for. So I just wanted to kind of go into some of the swing and miss that we have seen throughout his career. So his swing rate on chase pitches, the pitches that are obviously outside the strike zone, not where you want it to be. And it's actually has gotten worse throughout his Japan career. So throughout 2021 to 2024, his swing and miss has risen from 18.1%. That's where it was at from 2021 to 2024, all the way up to 23.9% this past season, while his contact rate on those same pitches has dropped from 39.6% to 29.2% in 2025. So this is a guy that is almost like the more prototypical like power hitter that you see in the major leagues. He is going to come with those home runs. He probably will hit 20, 25, maybe even 30, maybe even above that. He can continue to work on that contact, but that is going to come with a ton of swing and miss. Like, right, an easy thing to say is he's probably going to be around that 30% strikeout rate to start out. It might even go higher. And this is a very bustable player, in my opinion. With you have that swing and miss, but you don't have that ability to handle the high velocity. Not exactly what you're looking for at the major league level. And you talked about it defensively. I think you'd be able to hide him at first base. Again, the defense at third base is not really up to caliber whatsoever, especially at the major league level, especially with the way things are trending. You're seeing in baseball, the Blue Jays have shown that you can just contact a team to death, and that can work for a World Series run. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of a transition. We've already kind of started to see it a little bit. Again, the Brewers were doing it as well. Another good example of this. Teams that put the ball in play, teams that are testing the defensive capabilities. So when you're looking at a guy that doesn't really play great third base, again, you probably could put him at first base. But like you said, I think the best place for him would be DH long-term, a left-handed bat, 25 years old. Obviously, a lot of room to work, a lot of room to improve. So maybe they do have some fluctuation where he plays initially, but definitely a lot to be concerned about. So a very big boomer bust potential player, in my opinion.
Yeah, Carter, this is a guy that was part of, or the third baseman when Japan won gold at the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. He was also won at the 2023 World Baseball Classic when it was in Miami. And it just went in regards to talking about the contract here. So his window will close at 5 p.m. Eastern on December 22nd. So teams do have still a decent amount of time to make their final decisions. And a bunch of high-ranking MLB executives are sending scouts to go and look at him, as sort of everybody assumed he would. He's expected to land a 9-figure deal, so there's not really a solid number on what this guy is going to make, but it will be a 9-figure deal with a posting fee of at least $16.9 million. The team that signs Murakami will have to pay a fee to the Swallows for the transfer. So a lot that goes into some of these international players coming over, Carter. The transfer fee to me is just crazy. Like, you have to pay a team for this guy. I think that's just hilarious. Not the biggest deal. Teams do this all the time. This is not anything new that happens in the MLB. We're just seeing more stars emerge. Now, is he one of them? I am in sort of line to agree with you here. I don't think this guy, I think he's going to be a little bit of a bust. And I hate to say that. I haven't seen this guy play every single game, but from everything that I've read on him and how stuff transfers over, there are little things that give you indications. Now, obviously not confirmed. That's my take. Carter, in regards to the Toronto Blue Jays, we got to talk about the fact that he is primarily a DH, and they already have for this season George Springer and Anthony Santander that will play a little bit of DH, maybe even Vlad here and there. So do the Toronto Blue Jays really have room to be able to go out and get this guy? Like, do you want him at third base over a guy like Addison Barger or Ernie Clement? To me, no. I don't think this is a good fit. I know there are a lot of Blue Jays fans out there that want to see the Blue Jays go after him. I'm not on board with that, personally.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the Blue Jays mold. He had 142 strikeouts, again, trying to do quick math as we talk about this right now, in about 130 games. So that's a strikeout per game. Like, the swing and miss is going to be there. In terms of the Toronto Blue Jays fit, I'll quickly just go over the teams that are rumored to be interested in him right now. The Blue Jays is not on like the upfront list, but obviously there are going to be calls about this guy. It's when you have a player with this much potential, kind of reminds me of like the Aurelvis Martinez build a little bit. And we saw, unfortunately, how that went with the Toronto Blue Jays, but raw power, not a great contact ability and not great defensively. But the teams that are interested are, again, I've said it the last 2 episodes, we talked about Bichette and Kyle Tucker, a lot of similarities every single time when you talk about these caliber players. The New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Seattle Mariners, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Boston Red Sox, and the San Francisco Giants. I'm not going to be the guy to label this guy as a bust. He's 25 years old. I'm going to be completely honest. I've only looked at stats. I've watched the odd highlight tape from this guy, but I'm obviously not very familiar with his game. We've watched 162, 180 in this case, games of Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Unfortunately, not enough time to, watch the Japan leagues, especially when you're trying to monitor some of the minor league stuff that's going on as well. So I'm not going to completely label him as a bust, but like I said, it definitely is some risk potential with Murakami coming to the Toronto Blue Jays. Hopefully I got that name right. Again, we are going to be interesting with that name throughout this entire episode. But just looking at the way, again, before you sign anybody else, just looking at the Toronto Blue Jays right now, George Springer was substantially better at DH than he was in right field this year offensively. So I think they're going to be a lot more prone to throw George Springer predominantly at that DH role. Yes, he can play right field, left field if you need him to. But I'd say at least 80% of his starts probably going to be in that DH role. Another guy you have is Anthony Santander, a guy that you might want to DH as well because you see his ability to play defense. And I will just look at it in the infield. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is your first baseman. Yeah, he's not playing first base, obviously. Like, Vladdy is your number one first baseman. You're not really going to fall through too much on that either. You go over to third base. Would you rather have Ernie Clement as Barger defensively playing third base, or would you rather have Murakami? I think that one, again, we haven't really seen Murakami play in the flesh, but with the caliber of defense that Ernie Clement and Aston Barger are playing at third base, I think you would probably lean towards that as well. So just in terms of fit, this doesn't really make a ton of sense for the Toronto Blue Jays. And in terms of the players that Ross Atkins normally goes out and tries to get, just a guy with swing and miss potential, a guy that doesn't really play that well defensively, a guy that doesn't make a whole lot of contact. That's pretty much the polar opposite of what this Toronto Blue Jays ball club has done these past 5 seasons. So I think while they'll be engaged in talks, I don't really expect him to be a front runner to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays.
No, to me, Carter, this is a guy that screams New York Yankees. Heavy swing and miss, raw power that can mash home runs. Now, will they go out and sign him? I'm very interested to which team is going to take a shot on this guy because I said it. I won't. If it turns out that he's a great player and is making waves, I'll eat my words. But from everything that I've seen, every statistic, it just doesn't seem like the switch over to the MLB is going to be as seamless as some people want to believe there to be. This is a high bust potential guy, and so I wonder who is going to take a shot like this on. With every statistic we have seen, I'd be a little bit curious to see which teams are in this. Like, I don't think this is a guy that's going to go and sign with the Rockies or the Pirates. It's going to be a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees or somebody like maybe the Mets, maybe the Philly. I don't know, one of those teams, Carter. And does he end up just being a DH option that you pull off the bench? I don't know. That's sort of where I'm leaning here. I think there are other guys in this league that you would take shots on and could probably pay a lot less money for that would sort of serve his purpose. Because unless you're going to play him every single day at DH, what's the point?
See, again, I think you can. It's not like he's horrible at first base, and his first base is probably the easiest position to get away with in terms of fielding wise. Like, you can kind of hide a first baseman. You're not really expecting him to field you go on obviously to make the routine play, but you're not expecting him to do the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. stuff where he's diving for baseballs, making unbelievable plays over the shoulder catches. I think in terms of that, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a DH. Again, that's probably where he fits a little bit better. Power is there, the ability to be that game changer, to have that one swing of the bat in a game and completely change that momentum of a game. No matter if you have that much power, you're going to get a pretty attractive field. I think the New York Yankees projection was a pretty good pick in terms of just like how he kind of looks at the major league level and just all the characteristics that he does have. The LA Dodgers comparison is a very easy one to make. You got Yamamoto, you got Roki Sasaki, you got Shohei Ohtani. Let's just make that the Japan Dodgers at this point. That would be a very easy one. And for me, for some reason, I have him going to actually the Seattle Mariners. I think the Mariners are going to be very aggressive in this market with Eugenio Suarez being on the market, with Josh Naylor, another guy being on the market. I think, obviously, if you ask Mariners fans, they would prefer Josh Naylor. And I think I would prefer Josh Naylor as well, just because you kind of know for sure what you're getting out of Josh Naylor, where there's a lot of questions with Murakami coming overseas. But this guy is going to have a market. It's going to be a risky contract no matter which way you look at it. Again, paying that $17-ish million to get him over here. And then obviously you said the 9-figure deal. That's at least $100 million in terms of contract. Is going to be pretty interesting to see what he gets. But I thought this part of it was pretty interesting, is that he declared that he was coming to the MLB, and that gives teams 45 days from when he declared that he would be available to the MLB for a team to go and sign him. And the way that free agency has kind of worked out the last few years is you've seen a lot of these top tier free agents kind of waiting and seeing how the market plays out and waiting until January to sign a lot of these contracts, where now with Murakami, you're forced to sign Murakami before maybe some of these big fish come off the market. So you almost have to choose now. Would you rather have a Josh Naylor, a Pete Alonso, or would you rather take the risk and sign Murakami? So I thought that was pretty interesting on his part to kind of go out and make teams be more aggressive on him than they probably would have been if he was available the entire free agency.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, Carter. That's the point to me as well, that you're 100% right. We've seen moves made in January and February, and, right before the season starts, some guys are signing, or some guys not till after in the past few years. So it is super interesting. And that's what I mean. I think this is a cool story to watch, at least, because I think you see the downside, you see the heavy upside at the home run ball, and the short window. I think this is one of those cool instances where the MLB free agency is very weird and different than a lot of other leagues. And so it's going to be cool to pay attention to, at least. Maybe not as a Toronto Blue Jays fan, because I'm sort of hoping that they don't necessarily mess around here. But wherever he goes, I hope him and I wish him luck. Just not with us, I guess. That's sort of where I'm at, Carter.
Yeah, I think where I'm at with him, if he goes to the Dodgers, he's going to be the best player to ever grace the earth. That's just how it's going to end up working. If he goes to the Yankees, I think he's going to suck. I think he's not going to be good whatsoever. And then if he goes to the Mariners, I think he'll be kind of somewhere in the middle. He'll have his moments. He'll probably, again, earn that big contract maybe early on, and then somehow just in the Mariners' way, that contract won't age as well as people expect. But I have a comparison that I talked to you off camera. I didn't tell you who I was going to compare him to, but I want to know if you kind of see what my thought process is looking like on this one. A ton more we want to get into. Still want to talk about Mark Shapiro, a couple other free agents besides the 6 major free agents that we've already covered, a couple other guys that I think are a little bit underrated free agent signings that the Toronto Blue Jays could look to bring back. But again, ton more we got to get into, ton more Murakami stuff we want to get into, and we'll dive into that after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I love having FanDuel here as part of the show, because that's where I place all my bets. Me and a couple guys at work, Carter, all our buddies, we love sports betting, and it's not, throwing out $100 a weekend. It's, $5-10 here just to keep the game exciting. I'm not a big NBA guy, but the sports betting is getting me back into it. I've been betting the overs, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. And if you play sports betting like that, you're going to have an enjoyable time. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. That's a ton of fun, too. Checking things off the list as the game goes on. That's a ton of fun. We always do those on NFL Sundays as well. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Carter, I know you talked a little bit about a player you wanted to compare Murakami to, but you also have some home run numbers, some RBI numbers from out his seasons. And they're massive home run numbers that he's put up in the Japan League. So I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff no matter what league you're playing in. Like, these are very hard numbers to hit for in no matter what league. And, whether it's, our Bossier slow pitch league, whether you're playing, mosquito ball, that's what we used to call it. It's U10 now. But no matter what league you're playing in, like, these are some tough numbers to put up. So it's going back to 2022. I'll go over the home run and RBI numbers. 2022 had 28 home runs, 86 RBIs, 21 at 39 home runs, 112 RBIs. 2022 is absolutely insane. 56 home runs with 134 RBIs, 23, 31, and 84. 24, 33 home runs, 86 RBIs. And then this past season, 24 home runs and 52 RBIs in a lot less games played. So this isn't the perfect comparison, because I think the upside with Murakami definitely is a little bit better. But we saw one player that definitely had some bustability, but definitely had some stuff that you were going to be excited about. And that is a player that's actually still on the Toronto Blue Jays. And that is Yariel Rodriguez, coming from the Japan leagues. This guy was an absolute stud coming out of the bullpen. Now he has made it to the major leagues. Again, a lot different of a league, and definitely has shown some flashes of being great, but also has shown some times where it's like, why the hell is this guy even pitching for our baseball team? But when Yariel Rodriguez pitched in Japan, the Chunichi, I believe is how you pronounce it. The Chunichi team, I don't even know what the team played for. But anyway, that's not the important part of this. Just the numbers of what he did in that Japan League is the important part. So in 2022, he won the league's most valuable setup man award. He went 6-2 with a 1.15 ERA. That's 7 earned runs over 54 and 2/3 innings pitched. Across 56 appearances, had 18 walks, 60 strikeouts, was really phenomenal coming out of that Japan League. And then came to the Toronto Blue Jays. Was he going to be a starting pitcher? Was he going to be a reliever? And definitely got his feet wet, but definitely did not adjust the way some people thought he would to the major leagues. And I'm not saying this is a direct comparison. Again, it's tough when you have a power hitting first/third baseman compared to a pitcher, but it's kind of the same idea where you saw the upside. You saw a lot of the pitches that Yariel threw and what he could be, but you also saw how it could kind of go the other way and not turn out as you want it to be. So this one, I think the floor and the ceiling are just a lot different. With the Yariel, you had it a little bit more condensed, whereas Murakami, I think he could be absolutely horrific and maybe out of the league in multiple years, or he could be a household name, one of those guys that you're talking about time in and time out, thinking, oh, why did the Toronto Blue Jays not go out and sign this guy? This contract is an absolute fleece. So are you kind of like seeing what I'm seeing here, or is this a little bit of a reach on my behalf?
No, I do get it, right? There might be situations where, for a 10-game stretch, you're like, holy smokes, this guy might be one of the best players in the league. But then, it goes maybe not that far, but oh my goodness, he's really good, into another 10, 12, 15-game stretch. And you're like, whoa, like this is a massive deal.
Like with the Yariel, like kind of saga we have here, like in May, like this was a guy that people were saying, oh, he could close baseball games. Like he should be the automatic setup man. And then you look at September and he's barely pitching, and then he's not on the playoff roster when it comes to the ALCS and the World Series. So just with it, the MLB is a crazy league. It's one of the hardest leagues to obviously play in. And while I don't want to take anything away from Murakami, I just think that there is definitely some risk. Obviously, and I've said risk a million times in this episode, but you're really putting yourself out there to sign Murakami, especially for 9 figures. Like for a guy that hasn't done anything at the major league level, and you see all the underlying statistics. Just an interesting decision for whatever team is going to end up signing him.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not hating on anybody if they think that this guy's going to be good. I can't argue with you, right? I can tell you some of the stats and tell you guys some of the stuff we see, but at the end of the day, you're going to believe that he's going to be really good, or you're going to believe that he's going to be really bad, or you believe he's going to be somewhere in the middle. And I'm not going to change your mind. And I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to tell you sort of my opinion on all this. And Carter, same with you. So, yeah, he very well could be very good, and he very well could not be. It is what it is. But in saying that, Carter, I did want to talk a little bit about the Mark Shapiro contract. Will he renew? And I'm not going to sit here and talk forever about it. Yes, he will. He's done great things. He's earned this organization a lot of money. And in doing so, I mean, with the upgrades to Rogers Center, to how he manages everything, I mean, you got to give him the hat tip. He's done a great job. I don't think anybody's problem was ever Mark Shapiro necessarily. I think it was more in the times, the Ross Atkins, the John Schneiders, and all of that. So he will 100% be back. They did not want to talk about the contract as they were going into a playoff stretch, World Series run. So you can't argue that. So I'm sure at some point in this offseason, we will hear that Mark Shapiro gets a renewal on his contract.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that you can be mad about. I mean, the stadium looks so much better than it did even just a few years ago, like the Corona rooftop. It's really just encompassed, like, it's almost like an entertainment facility at this point, which is really good for Rogers. Obviously, like, they're in the business of it. They want people to obviously watch the baseball games, that they care more about packing the stadium. They care about people being there rather than if you're paying attention to Blue Jays baseball or if you're playing cornhole the entire time. As long as you're in the stadium, as long as you're at the ballpark, that is something that they're going to be happy about. And Mark Shapiro, I mean, one of the only presidents that you'll see, like going into the stand, shaking hands with fans, dapping them up, things like that. So definitely becoming a fan favorite as we've seen over these last few seasons. Really just no reason why I would see them turning away from Mark Shapiro, going somewhere different.
Yeah, exactly. As we come back, Carter, we're going to talk a little bit about some more Blue Jays free agents. What are some possibilities to bring some of these other guys back? They're not necessarily the biggest names, but they could be a difference maker at some point. We'll talk about that when we return. All right, my guy, I know you had a couple guys you wanted to get into, so I'll throw it right over to you to kick things off.
Yeah, so we talked about the 6, technically 7, but with Shane Bieber signing back, we had it condensed to 6 of the free agents that the Toronto Blue Jays would look at re-signing. But there are some other guys, again, not nearly as good necessarily, but there's one guy specifically who I want to talk about. So when the Blue Jays made a bunch of corresponding moves, some of them was reinstating Yimi Garcia, reinstating Bowden Francis, not really going to focus on those ones. There's 3 players that I did want to talk about, and this happened a few days ago, but with everything going on, did not have the time to go over them, and that's why we're going over them on this segment, in the 3rd segment of our episode here. So Robinson Pena has cleared waivers and reinstated and has been assigned to the Buffalo Bisons. Dylan Tate has cleared waivers and elected free agency. I mean, small claps, for him. I don't think people are going to be too upset about that. But the guy that I actually wanted to talk about, Ryan Burr, has cleared waivers, has been reinstated from the 60-day injury list, and has elected free agency. This surprises me a little bit. I think Ryan Burr, just at this point with all the injuries that have kind of amounted, the Blue Jays are sort of giving up on him in a sense, but I don't think Ryan Burr is done. I do think he can go and sign with another team and be productive. It's a guy that has kind of sat at a 4 ERA these last few seasons, but in 2024 was when he was pitching fairly consistently for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially with the bullpen they had. He had about a 33% strikeout rate. Like, he does have the swing and miss. He does have the ability to get batters out at the major league level. I'm not saying he should be a setup man. I'm not saying he should be the Blue Jays closer necessarily. But for a guy that could just be a rotationary guy, a guy that, if there's injuries, he can be that next man up, to have him in those lower leverage situations and honestly middle leverage situations. I don't think that would be something that I would be opposed to, but I think with this move, obviously, it kind of shows the Blue Jays' hand. Ryan Burr will not be with the team in 2026, but this is a guy that I think can still be very productive at the major league level.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. Personally, Carter, I think we had the conversation last year about almost going out and just finding a diamond in the rough a little bit and signing those guys. I think I'd prefer a move like that. Not that I don't like Ryan Burr or anything like that. I think he did fine, and he could be one of those pieces that just comes in. But a little bit of me feels as well that what Ryan Burr is going to be. Why not take a shot on a guy that could be really good, just having a great year? That might not work out well, but it may. I don't know. That's sort of where I'm at with those sort of signings. But I wouldn't be mad at all if they did bring him back.
Yeah, it's like, for me with Ryan Burr, like, the familiarity is actually like a benefit, I think, to the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, why go out and sign a guy his caliber that you don't know as much about, and then maybe, he has some underlying issues that you weren't necessarily aware of. Like, you've seen Ryan Burr be good for the Toronto Blue Jays very recently, but I guess you could say the same thing about like guys like Chad Green, guys like Eric Swanson. So I understand moving on from Ryan Burr, like the pitch mix, he only has 3 pitches, probably going to be working on a few of those this offseason. Maybe when he was rehabbing, was probably working on fine-tuning some of his craft as well. So we'll see where Ryan Burr ends up. But if he does like the Ryan Yarbrough and signs with the New York Yankees, and then it's just like lights out and comes out and is a big factor on that team, that's going to be one that I'm kind of kicking myself thinking, maybe we should have given Ryan Burr one more chance with this ball club.
Yeah, Carter, that's understandable. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on one of those. Because I think he can be all right, and I'm not against it completely. There was a couple other guys, Carter, as well, that the Toronto Blue Jays or have departed with the Toronto Blue Jays. Do you have that list as well?
Like, I have a few other ones, but again, there's nothing too crazy here. Like, Brandon Valenzuela has been selected to the major league roster. Like, nobody else has really parted from the Toronto Blue Jays. It's been the Dylan Tate and Ryan Burr, just a bunch of, kind of housework, just getting some things out of the way. Nick Sandlin was reinstated, Yimi Garcia reinstated, some things that you kind of just anticipated were going to happen. So it was really just the Ryan Burr. Like, Dylan Tate again got released as well. I don't think anyone's going to lose sleep over that. Jimenez was another guy. Like, that's probably the list you're referring to. That's really the only household sort of name. If maybe you go back to 2018, more of a household name, but not really a guy that we're going to lose sleep over. And then Tasson Brown would be another guy that has been a very good fielder at the minor league level, but pretty much just at the AA level. So another guy that probably people aren't going to lose a whole lot of sleep over and not really have that big of an impact on the Toronto Blue Jays organization.
Yeah, Carter, just some housekeeping things, obviously trying to keep everybody up to date on all the little transactions that happen as well. We always cover those sort of later in the show for you guys so that, it's not the one thing you're probably tuning in the episode for, but a little extra knowledge for you as well. As always, appreciate everybody tuning into the podcast. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. A lot more to come from us all off season as well. We are 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. So we're always here. We're always updating you guys on some of the new information coming out across the league, and especially in regards to the Toronto Blue Jays. Thanks again. Hit the subscribe button and leave us comments down below on how you feel about today's episode.